December 17th, 2017. Using a throwaway account for privacy. Sorry if this gets long. I was excited to meet my sister's wife, but she was cold and unfriendly. She avoids talking to me, but was happy and chatty with others. My sister, a lesbian, married her wife a year ago. They get financial support from our wealthy and generous parents, have good jobs, and have decided to have a baby. Her wife is visiting for the holidays and is about 6 months pregnant. Since I'm in college, I don't get to see them very often, but my parents help me out financially, so it's fair. I'm eagerly looking forward to meeting their new baby. My sister and her wife have been together since their senior year of college and were friends since childhood. I'm 7 years younger, so I was kind of out of the loop. I didn't really get to know my sister's wife until they got married, and even then, I was busy with my first year of college. I was really looking forward to this trip to spend some one-on-one time with her. Our parents live about 2 hours from my sister and her wife, and I flew in from across the country. We're all staying with our parents, who are not yet retired. My flight got in late last night, so I slept in. My parents went to work, my sister went shopping, and my sister-in-law stayed in, but I didn't realize she was around until she came downstairs while I was making lunch. She's obviously pregnant, and I haven't seen her since the wedding, so I was really excited to see her. She wasn't. I said hi and went to hug her, but she backed away. I apologized, and she just looked at me weirdly and went through the fridge. I tried to make small talk, asking when she was due. She gave me a weird look, like I'd asked something inappropriate, then just said, "March," and kept making her food. I said I was excited to have a niece or nephew and asked if she wanted a boy or girl. She sighed loudly, said she didn't care, and moved on. My sister had mentioned her wife had PTSD from a previous pregnancy, so I thought that might be it. I tried changing the subject and asked about her work. She set her knife down loudly, stared at me for 30 seconds, then said nothing and went to the dining room. Throughout the day, I kept trying to interact with her. I offered to get her a drink. She muttered no. I asked what she was watching. She said, "You wouldn't know it. It was The Simpsons." I said I was glad she was spending the holidays with us. She begrudgingly said, "Yeah, I thought maybe this was just her personality." Then my parents and sister came home, and she was super cheerful and nice to them. My dad asked if they had names picked out, and she wouldn't stop talking. My sister wanted a family name, and her wife wanted a unique name. My mom suggested my name, Anna, since it's uncommon but a family name, same as my grandmother. I said I wouldn't mind having a niece with my name, and my sister was enthusiastic. Her wife gave me a death glare. At dinner, I asked if she could pass the potatoes, and she ignored me. I repeated myself, and my sister had to tell her. She then giggled and said, "Guess I didn't hear." What should I do? Should I tell my sister or confront her wife directly? I have good relationships with my parents and sister and want to be involved with my niece or nephew, so I don't want to go no contact. How can I resolve this? Too long. Didn't read. My sister's pregnant wife is cold and short with me. What should I do? Update as of this morning. This morning at breakfast, my sister-in-law actually spoke to me, but it wasn't positive. She asked if I was seeing anyone, in a snarky tone. I said no, I'm busy with school. She responded, "Well, not everyone finds someone." My sister changed the subject, asking my parents about their winter home. My sister-in-law was so nice to them, saying how gorgeous the house is and how grateful she was for the vacation she and my sister took there last month. My mom started gushing about her, and it was a mush fest. After breakfast, I took our dogs for a walk. When I came back, my parents and sister had gone shopping, and my sister-in-law was home alone. She asked how I liked college. I said I liked it and started talking about my predental major. She rolled her eyes. I apologized for oversharing, and she said, "No, it's fine. You just have a problem with reading the room, I guess." Then she walked away. When my sister comes home, I'm definitely going to tell her about this. Opie clarified why her sister-in-law might not like her. There was one incident regarding her wedding that comes to mind. Initially, the wedding was scheduled on the day of my finals. Before invitations were produced or mailed, I called my sister to tell her that I either couldn't make it or the date would have to be changed. She was really upset because she and her wife had wanted a winter wedding, and the date seemed perfect for them. I suggested they didn't have to sacrifice the winter aspect, just maybe move it a day back. We had a big fight, and I assumed my sister-in-law was involved, but my sister, who likes to be liked, didn't want to stay mad at me, so we worked through it. The wedding ended up being the day after my finals, which I was grateful for, and there's been no resentment or hard feelings since. My sister actually laughs at herself now for being kind of unreasonable. Her quote from that time was, "You just don't have to go. It's just a test. I was my sister's maid of honor, and I didn't see much of my sister-in-law prior to the wedding. She'd gotten food poisoning from her bachelorette party, so she was kind of holed up for the majority of the pre-wedding hubbub. During the reception, I made a toast, talked about my sister and her wife's friendship, how we've just been waiting for the two of them to get married. They're a match made in heaven, etc., etc. She teared up, gave me a big hug, and said she was excited to be my sister-in-law. I wanted to talk more with her, but some relatives wanted to ask me why I chose the college I did, so I want to go talk to them. I'm probably going to bring this up with my sister either today or tomorrow. Depending on what my sister-in-law is up to. Highlight comments. Commenter. So you said that the longest time you spent with her was camping from a previous comment and the wedding. Could you elaborate on the wedding? Did you interact with her at all? Were you at your sister's bridal party? But I agree with other commenters. You've just got to talk to your sister and/or parents to see what can change to make this better for the rest of your stay. OP. There was one thing I might be able to think of in terms of her wedding. It was initially scheduled on the day of my finals. This was prior to invitations being produced and mailed, just their idea. So I called my sister to tell her I either wouldn't make it or the date would have to be changed. She was really upset about it because she and her wife had wanted a winter wedding. The date seemed perfect for them, etc. I said they didn't have to sacrifice the winter aspect, just maybe move it a day back. There was a kind of big fight, and I can assume my sister-in-law got in on it. But my sister is the kind of person who likes to be liked. Think of her as a human golden retriever, and she didn't want to be mad at me, so we worked through it. Her wedding ended up being the day after my finals, which I was grateful for, and there's been no resentment or hard feelings since. My sister actually laughs at herself for being kind of an ass. Her choice quote from that time was, "You just don't have to go. It's just a test." I was my sister's maid of honor, and I didn't see much of my sister-in-law prior to the wedding. She'd gotten food poisoning from her bachelorette party, so she was kind of holed up for the majority of the pre-wedding hubbub. During the reception, I made a toast, talked about my sister and her wife's friendship, how we've just been waiting for the two of them to get married. They're a match made in heaven, etc., etc. She teared up, gave me a big hug, and said she was excited to be my sister-in-law. I wanted to talk more with her, but some relatives wanted to ask me why I chose the college I did, so I want to go talk to them. I'm probably going to bring this up with my sister either today or tomorrow. It all depends on what my sister-in-law is up to. Commenter. Even if this is the underlying issue and sister-in-law was annoyed by OP's attempts to make conversation, sister-in-law is still being an ass. She's 26, old enough to have the self-control to say, "Sorry, OP, I want some time alone right now. I'm not really up for talking." She's allowed to feel irritated, but being pregnant doesn't give her the excuse to be rude without apologizing. My direct advice, OP, is to scale back your interactions with your sister-in-law. You can still be polite. It will highlight the drastic difference between the way you treat her and the way she treats you. Every time you make an effort to be friendly, she mocks you and belittles you. You deserve better, but it's also not your responsibility to earn decent behavior from her. Focus on those who return your friendliness, like your sister and parents. Next time you're home alone with your sister-in-law, try doing solo activities like reading or playing video games to pass the time. Update recovered through Reddit, December 20th, 2017. So, I didn't get the chance to talk to my sister. When my parents came back from shopping with my sister, my mom started saying how she had the perfect onesie for her granddaughter. Before my sister-in-law could start gushing, I asked what my mom meant. She asked if I hadn't heard I'd be having a niece, and I replied I hadn't. My sister said it was weird because she'd asked her wife to tell me once they'd gotten the ultrasound. Her wife had zero excuse and had the most deer-in-the-headlights reaction. There was something that just sort of snapped, and I started crying. I felt kind of spoiled and horrible for it, so I apologized and went upstairs with the dogs. My parents came upstairs, and my mom went to ask if I was okay while my sister and her wife started shouting downstairs. My mom basically said that my sister-in-law does not like me and that it wasn't really my fault. She's just bad with people she doesn't know and took it out on me inappropriately. And yes, my sister-in-law was still pissed about the wedding date thing, which just made it worse. I felt really shitty and just like really bad. Part of it wasn't my fault, but part of it was my fault, and apparently, my sister knew about both issues beforehand and had given my sister-in-law directions to try and get along with me. They were still shouting downstairs, and I was kind of bordering on a meltdown, so I asked my mom if we could take the dogs for another walk. We went out the back, and when we came home, My sister had left the house to cool down, and her wife was upstairs. I spent most of the rest of the day downstairs until my sister came home. She had obviously been crying and was in a bad mood. My mom took her into the kitchen to try and calm her down, so I kept sitting in the living room. I felt like a bratty little kid again, like I genuinely felt like I'd messed up my sister's marriage and probably ruined our relationship in the process too. Everything just felt awful. When my sister came out of the kitchen, she didn't even look at me, just went storming back upstairs. Her wife started yelling first, and they were fighting for a while before it got quieter upstairs. My mom, dad, and I went out for dinner, and when we came home, my sister-in-law was waiting for us. My sister-in-law apologized to me, saying she had been petty and rude and that the wedding date thing had been a non-issue. I said it was okay if she was upset about the wedding thing, but I wish she had let me know. She said it wasn't that easy since my sister would basically take a bullet for me, and it had caused them a big fight before their wedding. I said I had no idea and that I was sorry to be the source of that tension, and I just wanted to be able to be a good sister-in-law myself and be a good aunt. My sister-in-law got angry and said I had ruined the opportunity for the first one, and she wasn't banking on the second one. Then she stormed upstairs, and she and my sister got into another big fight. I felt awful. The bad feelings manifested physically, and I spent most of the night throwing up while my sister and her wife fought. My mom was really kind to stay up with me, and my dad tried to get my sister and her wife to get off each other's backs. I specifically heard my sister-in-law shouting, "Who would you jump in front of a train for, me or her?" And my sister responded without missing a beat, "My sister," no questions asked. They got quieter after that, and my sister-in-law started screaming about an hour later, saying, "I'd let all my siblings die for you." My sister slept on the couch, and the two of us went out for breakfast in the morning. She basically said that after my sister-in-law gave birth, she and my sister were going to separate. They would try counseling prior to the birth and afterwards too, but if things weren't getting better, they'd be divorcing. I said that it shouldn't have gotten that far, and I was sorry for pushing both of them. My sister said that my sister-in-law does this to all my sister's friends, and they've been fighting often, but she clarified that the way she treated me was a deal breaker. She said it might have sounded sad, but I was her best friend from birth, and she wouldn't let me not feel welcome like that. I felt really guilty and started crying again. She kept saying she wanted it this way. Their relationship was broken as is, etc. It's been tense and awkward ever since. My sister-in-law won't look at me or speak to me, and I've given up. My sister has been by my side a lot and has amped up the good sister behavior tenfold. I feel like everything is really terrible, and I'm sure I'm going to be making another post during the actual Christmas. Not a great update, but there we are. Too long. Didn't read. My sister and her wife are separating because of my sister-in-law's behavior towards me. Spot on comments. Commenter. The sister says her wife treats all her friends that way. Isn't that classic jealous abuser behavior? Trying to isolate them from friends? I guess the parents get a pass because they're rich and are giving money. Replier. Yeah, that is exactly what I think it is. As the other comment said, she isolated her sister from her friends and tried to isolate her from her sister. She was only being nice to the parents because they are wealthy and she wants to keep her hand in the money pot. Other commenter. Hey, sister says her wife treats all her friends that way. Isn't that classic jealous abuser behavior? Trying to isolate them from friends? Yes, it absolutely is, as seen time and time again in the posts on this subreddit. Sorry to hijack your comment, but I just want to give a small public service announcement to anyone reading this. If your partner is acting even 1/4 the way that this sister-in-law is acting, then you either need to get out or find some way to shut that down as soon as possible. This behavior does not magically go away with time and will only grow as you sit and stay quiet, hoping it'll blow over. Remember, for your sake, if your partner is trying to drive a wedge between you and your family or friends, they are planning on making sure you depend solely on them, either emotionally and/or financially, so you can't get away from them when you realize and it's become too late. Please make sure to keep some kind of relationship with someone reliable and dependable in your life besides your partner, so you always have an escape in a worst-case scenario. Don't get trapped.